pick to another. And this is the one the Bears decided to take this year rather than take Bryce Young a year ago. The Bears will open their season home against Tennessee September 8th. The last time the Bears won a playoff game was 2010. Caleb Williams then was 9 years old. So here's my question. I'm trying not to put, there's been so much conversation about the pressure that is on them. Let me put a reasonable question together for you. D. Wood, when we get to Thanksgiving, will the Bears be in the playoff hunt? Will they be playing meaningful games?
Yes, absolutely. Listen, when I look at the Chicago Bears, I love what Ryan Poles has done with this team. Is surrounding these young quarterback with some really good veteran players. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift. Like, these are proven veteran guys. I didn't even name, Rome Odunze, the fabulous rookie out of the University of Washington, and the defense. If the defense carries over from the last 8 games, why in the world wouldn't the Bears be playing meaningful games, not just Thanksgiving, but in December?
Yeah. And that was, you saw the schedule they have there. It is really backloaded. They play all their division games. The last 8 games of their schedule are really tough. You see it. All their division games backloaded there, plus San Francisco and Seattle.
Greeny, that's where I was Saturday. I was at Bears practice in Lake Forest. And I will just say this, there is an energy and an excitement there. And you wonder if Caleb Williams can have the same type of effect that C.J. Stroud had in Houston. You wonder if Jaden Daniels can do that same thing in Washington. I think that's one of the most intriguing questions about the season. And I know C.J. Stroud has raised the bar and created unrealistic expectations. But Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, they're that talented that they could raise these teams. And here's the thing. I don't know whether the Bears will be in the playoff hunt at Thanksgiving. My guess would be yes. But if he is what they think he is, the Bears should be relevant and competitive for the next 15 seasons. So you are entering a period of peace and prosperity in Chicago at that position. We've seen so many different quarterbacks in Chicago. None of them have succeeded. This guy has been built for this. He is ready for this moment. And if he is as good as they think he is, then the Bears are going to be set for years to come.
Is he, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, his talent is remarkable, Greeny. I think the biggest challenge for Caleb, and I've talked about this, is, how much he settles into the NFL game. Just because we've seen Patrick Mahomes kind of play at a very unique level doesn't mean that it's going to be able to be replicated. And really the learning of when and when not to, and, maybe that boring style of football a little bit more than the recess or creative style of football that is the jaw-dropping stuff. I think also, Keenan Allen, how healthy Keenan stays, how good Rome Odunze actually is as a top 10 pick. Like, those two guys, we think that they'll be really high end this year, but Keenan's got to stay healthy. He's one of the best slots in football. You talk about the back end of their schedule. I want to go quickly, Greeny, to the beginning. They play Tennessee week 1. They could win that game. Houston week 2, that's probably a tall task. Indy week 3, they could win that game. The Rams week 4, probably a tall task. Then they go Carolina. They could beat Carolina, Jacksonville. We'll see. They could beat Jacksonville, Washington, Arizona. So the beginning part of the schedule is not daunting.
That's the point, is they need to get up to a quick start while Caleb is just sort of ramping up 10 days away.
Yeah, so listen, I think, see if I can bring back to the schedule. I think a lot of people are acting like that first half of the schedule is real easy and the second half is real hard. I think the first half is still has some trouble games for sure. Like, I don't think it's going to be a super easy walk in the park for them. But I do believe, see if I can get it. Oh man. I think it was earlier in here. Sorry. Right. Like, obviously the second half, the Packers, the Lions, the 49ers, the Lions, the Packers, and quite frankly, the Vikings I don't think will be a super easy out either. They should be easier than the Packers and the 49ers and the Lions, but making no mistake about it, the Vikings can cause some legit trouble. These are divisional games for the Bears, of course, but it's so interesting to me that the media kind of keeps talking about how amazing they think Caleb Williams is, how great they think the Chicago Bears can be. And yet it seems like most of the media they don't think that they're going to make the playoffs. Even Schefter, unless he's changed his opinion recently, I remember him specifically even saying they're not going to make the playoffs. Pretty much all the guys on ESPN are saying they're not going to make the playoffs. And really the only person that I've heard outside of myself saying that they'll make the playoffs is Nick Wright from, First Things First. But he takes it even a step further and says they're going to make the Super Bowl. I'm not as bold to claim that, but I, at this point, would be very shocked for the Chicago Bears to not make the playoffs. So I think it's an absurd question to even be like, will they be in the hunt in Thanksgiving? It's almost like disrespectful to even phrase the question. I understand they're just trying to find like different ways to ask the same question, because we've been asking this question since like what? February, probably before the draft was even happened, when it was just assumed that Caleb was going to be the number one pick. It was just like, can the Chicago Bears, make the playoffs? So it's just like, they've just been trying to ask this question in a million different ways. And this just seems to be the most recent one, especially now the fact that we're only 10 days or so away from finally real NFL football. But it almost seems like, to me, it's a bridge too far. I think, of course, they will be, right? Even if the Packers and the Vikings are running away with everything, like, I still see the Bears. I don't see what teams can surpass the Bears. That's the way I try to look at it. I say, okay, well, what would stop them from being in the playoff contention outside of this team just not being as good as people think, which I think they will be a really good team? It's like, okay, what would be some of the things that really shock me? The Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons are both winning game after game after game, and now they're going to take up, one of those two teams is going to take up a wild card, right? Dallas Cowboys are actually legit for real. Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott, they are coaching and playing like crazy. Oh my God. Everyone thought that they were going to take a slide back, and no, sir, here they coming. And then the Eagles, they're also balling out too. Jalen Hurts, Kellen Moore, all those weapons, A.J. Brown, Devontae, let's go, right? Then it's just like, well, there's just so many teams. The Seahawks, I'm thinking the Seahawks are going to take a step back. Geno Smith, I think he's okay. He's good. I think his reemergence was a little bit overinflated of what now we can expect from him moving forward. And it's just like, right, when we start naming all those teams, then sure, then the wild card becomes wild, right? Like, it literally, then it's like, oh my God, I don't know who's going to be in the wild card. Is it going to be the Eagles? Is it going to be the Cowboys? Is it going to be the Packers, the Vikings, the Lions? Like, who's it going to be? So I get that it can be congested, and it will be, but I just have to imagine, unless the Bears lose some just really rough games, right? They really lose a couple games that they were supposed to win, and it was just like, oh my God, how do you fumble the ball on your own 20, inside 5 minutes to go against the Lions, right? Like, you had this game won, and you fumbled it, like, which is definitely possible, right? We see every team does that. It's just a matter of, will they really pay the repercussions for a game like that? And then can Caleb and that offense, or even the defense for that matter, can they steal a couple wins? Can they steal a win against the 49ers? Can Brock Purdy and Ayuk and Debo and all of them be balling out, but now they come into week 14 and the Lions and the Bears defense just shuts them down. They get to Purdy all day, and then Caleb gets to play like a pretty, dare I say, boring game, and then they end up winning, right? It ends up just being like kind of a boring game, 21-10, because that defense was just swarming. Those are all possibilities. And it's just a matter of like where how will this fall, right? Like, how will this unfold? So the reason why I'm trying to emphasize this is just because, to me, it would just take some more extreme circumstances, injuries, collapses, these players are just not what we thought they were going to be, for them to not be in playoff contention. And I have to imagine, if you said you had to pick between, who do you think is going to be a better team, the Bears or the Cowboys? I'm picking the Bears. If you said you had to pick right now, who's a better team, the Bears or the Seahawks? I'm picking the Bears. Who are you going to pick, the Bears or, I could do this all day. Like, the Bears have the team. And quite frankly, if Caleb was just a really darn good quarterback, but wasn't a rookie, right? Like, I'm trying to think of any example that I can use is too charged, right? No matter who I say, people would just they'll just put on any of their past success or failures onto it. So just imagine a quarterback who's just like really, really good, who's solid, who wins games. Obviously not Patrick Mahomes level, but also not a disaster where they're like, oh my God, is he gonna be a second string quarterback? Just a really solid quarterback, a Kirk Cousins. I'll attempt to say a name, and hopefully people don't get too bogged down by the name. I think this team should be really good and should seriously win some games, especially the defense. I think, as Damian Woody said, like, continues that momentum. Now you're talking about someone who has the potential to be truly transcendent, truly next level. It's like, how can this team not fight for a playoff spot? So yeah, I think it's a crazy question to even ask. Like, will they be in contention in Thanksgiving? The answer is yes. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think the Chicago Bears will be in contention? I don't even want to ask that question, but I guess I will. They'll be in contention for the playoffs by Thanksgiving, I suppose. And do you think they will make the playoffs? And if not, who do you think gets in instead of them? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.